in Changsha for our last stop in China, Guangzhou.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of good things about Guangzhou, so I'm looking forward to getting there tonight.
We walked the corridors and saw the locals on the hard seats. They were playing games and a lot were sleeping. They had found vacant rows and were stretched across.
You did?
Yeah.
Great.
Many of them were coming from Shandong, which is a 19-hour train ride, so the ones who didn't have the luxury of a sleeping compartment just passed out wherever they could find space.
We also got to talk to some folks when we were just wandering the trains. Nick and I had our video cameras out, and some people thought that was a little odd.
And here comes Chris, walking down the train. People are definitely curious about what we're doing. I get the feeling that a lot of foreigners don't ride the train. So the fact that we're here, I think they want to know about us just as much as we want to know about them.
Also, a group of young people that didn't speak very much English at all still invited Nick to come over and play cards with them. And I'm no good at cards, so Nick did it, and I tried to film some of it on my video camera.
I didn't really know the rules. They said it was poker, but I think it was something else. But one of the lovely young ladies sat there and kind of helped me through the flow. I won the first two games and then got totally taken on the third, so I think they sharked me.
See, last time we let Nick play, he played pool and he bet the U.S.
Went back the country very slowly.
And he lost the country, so he's got a lot of card games ahead of him.
Hey, it's great.
Oh!
It was just sort of fun and relaxing to be able to sit there, and we didn't have to talk to each other, but everyone was still kind of laughing if someone had a good card or a bad card.
What's up, Gwen? It's good to you.
Our woman that was sitting behind the card group sort of peeked over and started giving Nick some advice in English. So after the card game, we ended up talking to her. She had opened a business, her own business, about 2 years ago here in Guangzhou, buying leather to use for shoes and then selling it to shoe companies. And she said that there's actually a big leather market here in Guangzhou. And she had just been up north at a tannery to look at some of the leather they had. She said that 2 years ago when she started her business, you know, it was really tough to get going, but now that she's had a few years, things are going better. And she thought that Guangzhou was a city that had a lot of opportunity, a lot of economic opportunity in it.
It's big business. There's a lot of business going on in this area, and the people on the train reflect that. They're either coming down here to go to work, they're coming down here to meet clients, or they're coming down here to go shopping and kind of see the latest wares. And that came across in all of them as we rode down.
It definitely looks more southern here. We've gone by some rice fields and they're more livestock out in the fields. It fits a little more of my image of southern Asia.
This was the nicest part of the journey, just because the land was so beautiful. The people were very friendly. It was just very relaxed.
oozing down the Pearl River in the middle of Guangzhou in the south of China. And it's definitely a southern city. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and it is warm and humid outside. In the west, this region is known as Canton. So when we talk about Cantonese food, Cantonese restaurants, this is the region that we're thinking of. And it has a really interesting history. I was a history major, so that's why I kind of latch on to facts like this. The city's been around for about 2,000 years, and it's right on this river that empties into the ocean. So they had the opportunity early on to do a lot of trading.
This was one of the first trade locations where Europeans came in and met the Chinese, and they really interfaced and started exchanging goods.
I think they had trade with Arab merchants from the Middle East, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And then their history of trade with European countries in America goes back a few hundred years as well.
Guangzhou is by far the most western city that I've seen yet on this trip. It has a bit of history behind it. We started out this morning at a museum on a hill. It's in the center of the city. In this museum were various artifacts and displays, from ancient trade ships to the building structures, to factories that the Europeans established to manufacture their goods, which is much like today.
When the Chinese government, Deng Xiaoping, decided, I think around 79 or 80, that the country should attempt to have a more open economy, but in a very controlled way, he chose just a few select places to try out this new open economy, and Guangzhou was one of the first places that was able to have more open flow of trade. This morning, after we saw this museum, the old traditional building, we went to a department store called the Friendship Department Store, and it's been around for a number of years, but it was a department store that originally was developed to provide upscale, almost luxury goods to foreigners who were here in China. But with the opening of the economy in Guangzhou, it opened its doors to everybody, Chinese or foreign, in the early 80s, and it's been selling luxury goods since then.
It's a top-end department store catering in a lot of the brands from the United States and Europe. I mean, anything you're going to find in Beverly Hills or on Madison Avenue or any of those major world Western cities, you're going to find in this Friendship store. They're importing a ton of Western goods at a breakneck pace. Everything from the actual clothing themselves to the styles and the attitudes and the advertisements. You wouldn't even know you're in China. It could be anywhere.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that they have enough customers of these luxury goods to sustain the department store, but that we're still in China and it still is governed by the Communist Party. It's just hard to wrap your head around it.
Just in walking around this store, it felt very familiar and very comfortable.
Foot massager. My mother's watching. My birthday's coming up.
We went to this huge, brand new exhibit center almost. It's where trade fairs are held here in Guangzhou, and I think Guangzhou is known for having these massive trade fairs to highlight all the different industry in the area. And while we were there were a ton of stalls up, all these different exhibits displaying things that are manufactured or grown here in the region.
We're sampling the local goods, and the quality, which has been a concern for a long time, that goods made in China aren't necessarily up to par with the West. The gap is closing very, very fast, and these vendors, they're aware of their quality problems in the past, and they're doing what they have to do to move forward and break through those walls and produce goods that are indistinguishable from their Western counterparts.
To see both all the brand new high-tech things like cars, scooters, electronics, and also to see some things that I would think of as being more traditional. There were more traditional Chinese medicines, there were still a lot of the agricultural things. It was a neat contrast to see. I also got my hair done. There were some people there displaying the miraculous properties of hot rollers. It was kind of fun.
If I were to sum up Guangzhou, I would say it's the meeting of two worlds, and it's, in a lot of ways, in looking to the past, I'm seeing the future.
After the trade show, we went out to an area called Beijing Road, and it's the center shopping street in town, and it's been a central street in town for almost the whole 2,000 years the city's been here. So it's lit up at night, really bright, tons of people. It's Friday night, tons of people walking around, shopping in the stores, but they also have these neat little cutaways in the pavement showing the old streets that were laid in the exact same place in a number of dynasties in the past.
And today, it's a bustling metropolis, just filled with new stores, with teenagers shopping, wearing bright clothes, being expressive and enjoying, the nice autumn night. They're taking in various sweets and snacks and really living the same kind of life I lived when I was a teenager.
It was just a neat, bustling way to end the day there, just the consumer power that's here in Guangzhou.
And finally, we're on a boat cruising down the river, and on each side are townhouses and condos, bright electric signs. It's very stylish and very fun and friendly.
My overwhelming impression of Guangzhou today is prosperity and development.
It's nice to take a boat cruise and kind of relax and unwind after a day of being amazed.
Well, we just spent our first full day in Guangzhou, and it's been sort of a weird experience for me in that the city does give an overwhelming impression. I feel like I've only gotten to see things that indicate this prosperity theme today and last night, and that's really all I've got to build my impression of the city on. I'm sure if I spent a longer time here, I'd be able to feel like I had a more multi-layered feel for Guangzhou, but I'll just have to deal with what I've got now.
Lots of steel and glass high-rises, concrete, wide streets, taxis everywhere, bus lines, urban pulse, like a feeling, like suddenly plugged in after this voyage of history and then industry and then kind of a more classical China feeling. Then boom, Guangzhou alive, young, new.
The business is crazy, but the life might be just more relaxed and enjoyable and expensive.